was always very, he was in the Navy before he became a police officer. And my father was a military man and a police officer as well. It kind of runs in my family. He could be a funny guy, but he was tough too. You know, he didn't take a lot of nonsense. But he could be funny. He could be goofy. He didn't come out very often. But I'd say he was more serious than goofy. But he was a very personable guy.
He was a pretty chill dude. My experience. I mean, he never got mad or anything.
When he was in high school, he was not picked on a lot, but a little bit because we had big heads running our family.
I was pretty awestruck when I finally got introduced to him. I was like, wow, this is the Steven McDonald.
I remember the weather exactly. It was overcast, and my mom was upstairs cleaning the bathroom. He was working what they call a 4 to 12 shift. That's 4 in the afternoon to 12 at night. He worked in the Central Park precinct, and we were sitting down eating dinner, me, my father, my youngest brother. My dad always listened to the radio during dinner. He had WOR on. And it came over the radio that an officer had been shot in Central Park. My father knew, he knew right away that it was Steven. He stood up and he went to go to the den to call the precinct.
Everything goes into hyper mode. Troops get assembled, and the troops, I mean, all the higher ups and clergy are informed, and they go out of their way to help the family get them to the hospital, whether that's driving them in a police car at 100 miles an hour or sending a helicopter to go pick them up and bring them to anywhere.
My sister called and said that my sister lived around the corner at the time. She said, they're gonna come pick us up, you need to come over to my house. So then as soon as Rockville Center Police, which is where I lived, they picked us up, took my sister and I to the city, at the city line. NYPD picked us up and drove us to Bellevue because they had transferred him. They didn't realize at first. Metropolitan is it's not a trauma center. Bellevue is a trauma 1 center. They said you go in and say goodbye to your brother because he's going to die. That's how they put it. My mother and my aunt stayed in the family room in Bellevue the whole night saying the rosary until 7 o'clock the next morning. So it literally was like that, like day by day, night by night, keeping him alive until they got him stabilized. And then they told my sister-in-law, the next day, he's paralyzed and there's nothing we can do. Father Michael Judge, who was killed in 9/11, the priest, when the towers collapsed, did the picture, the carrying him out of the rubble. He was very instrumental to helping him. And somebody said to him, there's this young cop in Bellevue, Father Julian's been saying mass in his room, could you go and say? So that's how we met him. And he was very instrumental to getting Steven to turn it into something.
He learned to forgive, because if he didn't do that, I think he would never have survived 30 years. I'm not saying that every day, 100%, he was happy. He had his ups and downs too. I mean, I drove him for a year, and it's a hard life. You have to think he only could move his head for 30 years.
Our faith comes from my mother. She was always very, very devoted to the Blessed Mother. Saying the rosary was very important in my house, going to mass. And it was so important. And Steven it was a lot of inward looking, and he just saying, it was a day-to-day thing. It really is, it boils right down to that. It's just a day-to-day thing. That night they had a press conference on the TV, and they were talking about this kid, Sherrod Jones. And we were all, I remember my sister Claire yelling at the television. But once you step back, obviously when you're in a situation like that and you see what this person has done to somebody you love, your older brother, you're angry. It's just a natural human reaction, but then you're able to reflect and you see his mother was a heroin addict. He never had a chance. I just see how valuable it is, because it's a disease that festers, really, if you don't move on from it.
Steven McDonald has inspired, influenced millions of people. I mean, not just in New York City or the New York City area, but literally all over the world.
You know, even if you don't believe in a specific religion, or you see all the people that he saved, letters that we read from complete strangers who they found peace and purpose in their life after having met him, listening to him, who were ready to, were on the brink of killing themselves through drugs or whatever, and he was able to inspire them to stand back and reassess their lives and give it another shot.
I met many people in the 48 hours that I've been here. People were taken from them brutally, and forgave that person who did the brutalizing. I would say that power of prayer makes forgiveness possible. God is real. He loves both Protestants and Catholics, and I know that He wants for us to resolve this with forgiveness and reconciliation. That's the only way that we'll have peace in this province.